Hello, and welcome to Will's Infinite Library. I'm Will, and this is my Infinite Library. I wanted to make a quick video to tell you about some books I picked up recently. I went on kind of a crazy shopping spree and I have a lot of books to share with you that I'm just really excited to read. I don't usually do pickup videos because I don't really pick up books in that capacity most of the time and that it's worth sharing. I usually just one here or there, or I download a book here or there, but I went on a shopping spree. So I have a haul of books to share with you. So let's get right into it. Wait, but first, before that, I just wanted to kind of share this idea that I had recently when I brought these books home, because I was kind of thinking, oh no, I don't usually buy big quantities of books all at once. And part of that is because it's expensive, and part of that is because it just stresses me out to have a lot of books that I haven't read on my shelves, or like that's the mindset that I have. But I found when I actually brought them home, like on the way home, I was starting to think, oh no, I have to read all these books right now because I can't have unread books sitting around. And I usually buy books once I read them and love them. And that's kind of like how I add books to my shelves usually. Or I just know like I'm gonna love this one. But anyway, I bought a bunch of books, brought them home, had this kind of sinking dread in my stomach. But then I got here and I put them on my shelf and I was like, this feels really good. Like my shelf feels alive now because it is just books I've read and I love seeing them there and being reminded of the books that I enjoy. But having books that I haven't read felt like the shelf was suddenly full of excitement, like this potential, like these books that I could love, these books full of ideas that I didn't know yet. And that kind of like potential, exciting energy really, like I really liked it. And I want to buy more books now. So like, if you need justification to buy more books and add to your TBR list, even if it's growing out of control, I say go for it. Even if you're not going to read it anytime soon, it's well worth it if it brings you joy just having it there. Like if you feel excited by having the book on your shelf, that's kind of how I think of my bookshelf. Like I don't need to buy every book I read, but I buy the books I enjoy and love because I want them around me. And if you want books around you that you haven't read because you want to read them one day, that's like kind of setting up your environment and making you feel good in your home, then like go for it. This has been my hot take on buying books and filling your shelves with books that you have not yet read. Okay, now let's get into the actual book haul. I just want to like show you the stack and then I'll go through it. Here's the stack. If you watch my last video on my vacation reads, you will know that I love this book, First Time for Everything by Henry Fry. I won't talk much more about it here, just to say that it's really great. I highly recommend it. Check it out. It's about a gay character in England who is kind of coming to terms with his sexuality in a new way. He came out years ago, but is now realizing that being gay isn't something you can just follow a set of rules for, just like being in the closet isn't either. Like you can't just follow a set of rules to be straight. You can't just follow a set of rules to be gay. You have to figure out your own rules, how to live your own life. And I just really loved it. It's really powerful, really beautiful. Highly recommend. One of my new favorite books. And I'll link to that other video here so you can check that out if you have not. Another book that I mentioned in that video is Rabbits by Terry Miles. Had some mixed feelings on it, but ultimately enjoyed it enough to buy a copy because I want to read it again. Not right away, but like at some point I want to read it again. So I wanted to have a copy on my shelf because I find it really interesting and intriguing. I didn't totally love my experience with it. When you can again check out that previous video for more info on why, but overall I enjoyed it. I like it. Next up is Future Stories by David Christian. In that last video, again, I talked about Origin Story, which is about the big history of the universe, which is the history of our entire universe being created and then going all the way through life evolving on the planet to human life and what's led us to the present and looking into the future a little bit. Really interesting nonfiction book. This book, Future Stories, kind of continues where that one left off. It had a couple sections on the future, and this one spends an entire book examining our future, where we're headed, where we might end up, and just kind of ways to think about the future, ways that people have thought about the future throughout time. Just sounds super interesting, and I'm excited to continue this kind of nonfiction journey, because this is different for me. Like, I love reading about science and history, but I often don't pick up a whole book on it. Like, I'll read an article here or there and really enjoy it, but really enjoyed origin stories, so really looking forward to future stories as well. And it kind of made me think too, like, about futurism and sci-fi, and like, is all futurism sci-fi at some point, and is all sci-fi futurism? I think all sci-fi is not futurism, because some is just far-fetched for the sake of exploring these ideas, but like, all futurism is kind of imagining a future world. Like, we don't know where we're going. So I'll just leave you with that little thought, that question. Let me know what you think in the comments below. The next one I didn't intend to pick up, but I've heard a lot of great things about it and saw it sitting on a display. The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, long title, but it sounds really cool, like a queer space opera, if I'm not mistaken. And I've heard a lot of great things about it. It won a Hugo Award, so I mean, it's got to be good. And I just wanted to kind of mix things up. I've been wanting to read more sci-fi lately, so I think this will be a good way to get into it. And then I picked up some more Canlit, some new Canadian books. This one, After Realism, I'm super curious about. I had no intention of picking it up either, but I've seen it all over Twitter, and like, it's eye-catching, right? I get it? Eye-catching? Yeah, I just found it super intriguing, and as soon as I saw it in the bookstore, I was like, I've got to get this. So it has a lot of writers that I've heard of but don't know that well, that I'm curious to check out, and then some that I love and I'm super excited to read more of, like Casey Platt and John Elizabeth Stency are two of my new favorite Canadian writers, so I'm really excited to read their stories. It's a collection of stories that blur genre, really, I think, or blur realism. It says, After Realism offers 24 distinctive talents who are pushing against the boundaries of the real in aesthetically and politically charged ways. Sounds super cool to me, forging their styles from influences that range from myth to autofiction, sci-fi to fairy tale, documentary to surrealism. Like, I'm in. I don't know what to expect, but I know there's some great authors in here, and I love the ideas. So I'm super curious to read this. I will be sharing my thoughts on it soon, and or whenever I read it, which I think will be soon. And then I picked up a Canadian literary magazine, Grain, which I've read some pieces from again before, but I'd never read an entire issue cover to cover, and it's just been on my radar. It's called Grain, the Journal of Eclectic Writing, so I'm like, I feel like I'll like this. It feels a little more edgy than I thought it would be, which I really like. And it's published in Saskatchewan, which is Manitoba's neighboring province, and I feel like I'm just sharing the vibes. So like, I'm really curious to check it out. I've been wanting to read more Canadian short stories, so that's a good way to do it, I think. And then the last book I picked up, another Canlit book, Buffalo is the New Buffalo by Chelsea Vowel. This is a short story collection, and I'll just read you the beginning of the back cover because I think this sums it up better than I could. Obviously, that's why it's there, and I'm here. Education is the New Buffalo is a metaphor used among Indigenous peoples in Canada to signify the importance of education to their survival and ability to support themselves, as once Plains nations supported themselves as buffalo peoples. The premise is that many of the pre-contact ways of living are forever gone, so adaptation is necessary. But Chelsea Vowel asks, instead of accepting that the buffalo and our ancestral ways will never come back, what if we simply ensure that they do? And so this book takes this kind of Indigenous lens to looking at futurism and the future through sci-fi and adjacent things, I think. But it sounds really awesome to me. It's published by Arsenal Pulp Press, which is one of my #1 favorite independent presses in Canada. I love pretty much everything they put out. And as soon as I heard about this book, I knew like that's the next arsenal book that I need to read. I try to push myself to read more Indigenous books because, especially being in Canada and wanting to kind of absorb CanLit and Canadian culture, and as it evolves and changes and grows, I think it's vital to be up to date on what's coming out from Indigenous writers, because that is CanLit, right? Like, it can't not be. If it's not, then we have a big problem. Very excited to check out Buffalo Was the New Buffalo and all of these other books. Look at this stack. I went crazy. And the reason that I went crazy, I don't normally do this. I'm sorry. I don't usually do this. My sister gave me a very generous gift card for my birthday, and I was like, let's just do it. Let's dive in. So I spent more than the gift card, but way less than I would have normally spent to buy a stack of books like this. Let's just say that. So thank you so much to my sister for this generous gift and for all of these books. Yeah, that's my book haul. If you've read any of these books or are excited to check them out, let me know in the comments below. And I will keep you posted once I've read one or more of them. Very excited, very excited. All right, thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.